Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. You get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.
Good evening. You are watching The World on Democracy. This show is on every other Saturday on Channel 34, cablecast live from the facilities of Manhattan Neighborhood Network in Manhattan. I am your host, Smith Georges. This Saturday, the 15th of November 2014, again, it's a pleasure to be here with you. To all my Haitian brothers and sisters, et encore un plaisir d'être ici avec vous, toujours votre ami préféré Smith George, sur Time Warner Cable, Channel 34, Channel 33, Channel 82. And you can also watch this show wherever you may be around the world, because it's simulcast on the internet at mnn.org. That stands for Manhattan Neighborhood Network. It's a pleasure to have with us tonight two great guests. And I'm talking about to my right, which is to your left, if you're watching the TV now, and the president of the Hispanic American International Chamber of Commerce, and that's Ms. Damarys Butler. Welcome to The World on Democracy.
Oh, welcome, and thank you for having me here today.
It's a pleasure to have you. And also, further to my right and to your left, that's Mr. Brian Figeroux. Is an activist lawyer and has been helping the community for so many years. I call him a visionary. And so he's also the president of the Chamber Coalition. Welcome to The World on Democracy.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Good to be here.
And to all the viewers here, and you're really lucky to have Mr. Figeroux here with us tonight, because it's a pretty busy man. And so, as you know, President Barack Obama, it seems like is going to make a big announcement where millions and millions of immigrants will benefit from whatever executive action that he will take. And I have to mention now also Ms. Butler speaks very fluent in Spanish. And she will later on address the Hispanic community. First of all, Mr. Figeroux, and introducing you for what you have done as an immigrant who came to the United States from Trinidad, and to see you prosper to the point of having an institution, that's what I call it, a learning institution. You know, you're talking about newspaper, radio, a law firm, the Chamber Coalition, you can go on. And I don't know how to introduce you. So I would like to say hello to the viewers, and then we're going to start talking about immigration issue here.
All right, so, Mr. Smith Georges, thank you very much for having me on the program. Comprehensive immigration reform, I'd like to get to it quickly, But comprehensive immigration reform is so important to 11, 12 million undocumented people here in the United States of America. And, first, it's a human issue. People have come to this country, the great United States of America, for time memorial, so to speak. People have been coming here to do better economically. And so it's the immigrants of today are no different from the immigrants of yesterday. The difference between the immigrants of today and of yesterday is obviously color. You have more black and Hispanic immigrants in these times as opposed to earlier times. Those who came before, African Americans, came obviously as slaves. And the American Indians, we met all of them here. So we took their land, we killed the buffalo, and we made sure that they wouldn't be a problem anymore. Unfortunately, that's what conquerors do. In these modern times, immigrants, as I said, they still come here for economic reasons. Some flee persecution, political. Some flee from abusive husbands, family members. So there's a gamut as to why people would leave their countries and come here from a persecution perspective. Now the people who are here, how are they welcoming people? Obviously, if we have good economic times, we have open hands. If the economy is not doing well, we may tend to be skeptical. Are these immigrants taking our jobs? And when you talk about immigrants, not all of them run across the border. Some of them obviously come here, obviously with visitors visas, H-1B, H-2Bs, E-1, E-2, EB-5s, the various P visas, the various, we call it the alphabet. P, people come as entertainers, EB-5, those are people who invest $1 million or $500,000, employ 10 Americans, creating business here and opportunities for Americans. There are corporations that invest here. The Germans, they come here, they invest. Turner Construction, that's one of the largest construction companies in New York City, over $1 billion in jobs. Sorry, in contracts that they get from the city. It's a German company until 2011, and then Spain invested in that company, and now it's a Spanish-German-owned company. So are we more scared about the people running across the border, or are we scared that this German company comes here, gets $1 billion contract, and American construction companies don't get those contracts? So how nationalistic are we as Americans? Are we concerned about the people running across the border, the people coming here with PhDs and BAs and MBAs? Are we concerned about smarter business people coming here and, hey, yes, creating job, but also taking away money from the country? So it depends on who you are. Immigrants came to this country before as green card holders. They were white, and they could vote in the municipal elections, meaning the city council race, the mayor's race. Now, green card holders do not have that right to vote. If we are a democracy and we want to teach democracy, you expand the democracy, you don't contract. You don't want to take away votes, you want to give more votes. That's how our great leaders should be acting in Congress, But unfortunately, they're not as great as they say they are. Because if they would, why didn't they pass the DREAM Act? The DREAM Act, that's for children. The DREAM Act basically first was proposed in August of 2001. And then we had September 11 that everyone knows about. And when we had the World Trade Center crisis and the various planes being flown into buildings, that act was by mostly 23 people who came from Saudi Arabia. And unfortunately, many lives were lost. But people used that, and I'm talking about the politicians in Washington, used that as an opportunity to demonize immigrants. We have to be scared of them. They're all terrorists. Why would we pass the DREAM Act? And what is the DREAM Act? The DREAM Act proposal since August of 2001 said that if you came to this country and you're here for more than 5 years, good moral character, graduated from high school, can be accepted into college, no more than 3 misdemeanors, you could go to college.
Is there an age limit to that?
Less than 31 years old.
Less than 30.
You could go to college, and when you graduate from college, you could get a green card. Or if you join the U.S. military after 2 years, you get a permanent green card. So you get a temporary green card that becomes a permanent green card, either because you got your college degree, and we take in a lot of people with college degrees from overseas already, or you're going to the military, which we know over 25% is minority. So it's either you train the people who are here already in college, and they have a college degree and they stay, or you bring more people who have college degrees already. In 2001, what also happened, there was a law called 245I that allowed people who came here that overstayed their time to get a green card in the United States. if they would pay the government $1,000 penalty. That law expired April 30th, 2001. Immigration, INS as they were called at that time, now USCIS, said that they raised $300 million a year. And that $300 million a year is used for border security. So the same year, before September 11, we had a law that expired where the $300 million is used for border security, and we have the DREAM Act that is rejected continuously. And then obviously we had tragically September 11. And one of the issues that we have discussed in September 11 to this day, the Republicans are saying no comprehensive immigration reform unless we had border security. But we had a law that gave $300 million a year towards border security, which was that penalty that will help immigrants legalize here that came and overstayed their time, either because a church petition for them or a job petition for them. It had so many different areas of paths to legalization that people could take on or before April 30th, 2001, that was stopped. After April 30th, 2001, basically the only person who could petition for you and you could get a green card in the United States to this day is if you're married to a U.S. citizen. So I sometimes call the U.S. government a love government. You come here, you overstay your time, you'll only legalize if you're married to a U.S. citizen. If you come here and you overstay your time, if you leave the U.S., it's a 3-year bar if you overstay by 6 months. If you overstay by 1 year, it's a 10-year bar. So obviously, if you have a law that deals with unlawful presence, nobody is, if you come here and want to leave because you're going to be subject to the 3 or 10-year bar. So if you come and you overstay, it seems like the U.S. government doesn't even want you to leave either. Because if you're penalizing people for leaving, why would they leave? So the common sense in the law is obviously not there. And also, you're telling people that the only way that they could, legalize is through this marriage process. So the immigration laws, according to President Barack Obama, President George Bush before him, wanted to pass some sort of, immigration reform. They couldn't do it. The last amnesty was by President Ronald Reagan, who also gave earned income credit to those who are obviously living in poverty, a good law. People say bad things about Mr. Reagan, but there's good things that could say about that Republican president. And President Bush, before President Barack Obama, also wanted to pass comprehensive immigration reform, but most of the congressional representatives wasn't interested. Now, this is not the first time that Congress has failed to act. We know in recent years they don't want to expand the budget and people lost their jobs.
But one part of the Congress, the Senate, did pass the bill, except the House.
Well, that's the difference between the Senate and the House.
Right.
The House races every 2 years, so we get mad men, mad women representing us. And in the Senate, it's every 6 years. So we have more civilized people in the Senate than in the Congress, So Congress is bacchanal, It's like, you could go to Congress any day and somebody might punch you out in the House. But in the Senate, which is just 100 people.
Right.
So the Congress is proportional representation. It's every 2 years.
Right.
As opposed to the Senate, that is every 6 years, and we have more stability. Now, a good example is Brown versus Board of Education. A lot of people think that Brown versus Board of Ed was, approved, or the Supreme Court passed that quote-unquote law that separate is not equal. People say, the Supreme Court shouldn't pass law. The Supreme Court made that decision because the Congress wouldn't make that decision. So the U.S. Congress, both the Senate and the House, in the 1960s was so racist that the only way you could give equality to African Americans in this country is through the Supreme Court. And the United States of America, who want to be this big political world leader, how could you be a moral leader? Fight the Soviet Union, right? And in your own country, you have separatism laws. How could you be the moral leader? So the Supreme Court bail out the U.S. Congress, bail out the President of the United States at that time, because the President wants to fight the Soviet Union. And how could you get countries to say, well, okay, we will fight with you. That big, evil, left-wing beast that they call Russia and all of those other countries, we're going to fight with you because, you're such a good moral leader. So the Supreme Court had to act. Now, President Barack Obama, let's, come to in 2014, how could he get Congress? How could Bush before him get Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform? A lot of people believe that immigrants don't contribute to the U.S. It's not about whether or not immigrants could contribute. It's because the people who come here look like us in this room here. We're black, we're Hispanic, we are different shades, I say, people of color, different shades, scattered globally, same goal. Because no matter where the African American man is, he's demonized, ostracized, and they want to, beat up on him. So why would this Congress, why would the Tea Party want more black people here? When the Census Bureau is saying that America would be a nation of color by 2050. Who wants a nation of color if you are the dominating group? And unfortunately, CNN, all the major networks, none of them are truthful enough to call out our people in Congress as to what they are. They are racist.
Did you hear what John Boehner said, that if President Obama goes ahead with the reform, immigration reform, it's like waving a red flag before a bull? That's what he said. At first, I thought he was going to be sympathetic to the immigrants, but it seems to be an impediment to
one issue that we have to understand. I like John Boehner. I think he's very smart. I think he's representing the Tea Party and the KKK elements in Congress very effectively. I thought that his Jamaican son-in-law might smoke a little weed Thanksgiving, come in here and talk some sense at their family dinner. How I don't know. They say that they say that he's a dread. They say that from Jamaica, what have you. I thought that Jamaican element in John Boehner's family might be helpful. Obviously, it's not. John Boehner and most of his colleagues are not concerned about the American economy. They are not concerned about the American worker. Immigrants come to this country and create jobs. If you look at Flatbush Avenue, Utica Avenue, White Plains Road, any of the main thoroughfares in New York City, you see striving immigrant businesses hiring not only other immigrants, but Americans. Some of the major firms were founded by immigrants. So what we have here is not a question of economics. It's a question about what do we want America to look like multiculturally? Are we really serious about multiculturalism? Do we really want, Mr. Smith Georges to bring more family from Haiti? Or Brian Figeroux, his family in Trinidad and Tobago? Or our family in Africa? They do not want it. And in fact, the comprehensive immigration reform proposal that is in the Senate, that the Democrats have put there, it actually decreases the amount of people of color that will be coming to America.
Are you talking about the green card lottery?
Well, yeah, the green card lottery and other. If comprehensive immigration reform was passed based on the Democratic Senate passed proposal, all right, the green card lottery will no longer be there. 20% of all people who come here with green cards come from Africa. So 50,000 green cards a year, 10,000 people from Africa will no longer be coming here. There'll be no more sister-brother petitions, no more petitions for family members that are married over 31. So comprehensive immigration reform, they tell you about who will be getting green cards, but they don't tell you that under the Democrat proposal, you'll have to wait 10 years. You'll pay over $2,500 in various penalties. So it will take you 10 years with a work permit before you get a green card, and another 5 years with that green card to become a U.S. citizen. So under the Democratic proposal that the Republicans don't like, it will take you 15 years to become a U.S. citizen. Under the Republican proposal, you know, you will probably it'll take what, 30 years? 5 more years? Or never. Under the Democratic proposal, if you overstay, maybe a misdemeanor. Under the Democrats, they want it to be a felony. But whatever they do, they could get the Mexicans to build a wall on the border, you know. I mean, who's going to build that big wall that the Republicans want? Not American labor. Who's going to give us all the food that we eat? Not American labor. So the Republicans, their idea is this. Take all those African Americans and everyone else, white Americans too, because they are on public assistance. Take them off of public assistance and let them go and work on the farms. Let them work in the restaurants, washing the dishes. All the jobs that those immigrants take from Americans, you know, obviously the healthcare workers, the CNs and the LPNs. Take those high-paying poverty jobs from the undocumented, documented people that keep coming here so that we could take all those African Americans and poor white people off of public assistance and give them those jobs. So the Republicans are not talking about investing in education. The reason why America gives over 100,000 visas every year to educated people is because America is not educating its people. So you have a high school dropout rate. You have unemployment for blacks in this country, youths 44%. Who wants to go to school if they can't get a job and there's a glass ceiling? So America has serious issues. America has to start loving what it is. America has to love itself. Whether we like it or not, we have black people here, we have American Indians, we have Hispanic Americans, we have Koreans, we have South Asians. We have to embrace what we are. And what we are is great. But people who are in power, who are disconnected with what is happening in America, America is becoming more multicultural. Why? Because through the civil rights movement, in the 60s, when we had Brown versus Board of Ed, we also had the U.S. government saying, we will no longer only take Europeans. We will now take a certain amount of people from different countries. So because of the civil rights movement, because America wanted to fight the Soviet Union as the greatest moral leader on the planet, America, what they had to do was to have a quota system with immigrants. We can't just take Western Europeans because the racists, they don't even like Eastern Europeans. White is Western. Blue eyes, blonde hair. So that quota system became important. When slavery was over in 1869, for want of a better word, over, the African American population was almost 20% of the U.S. population. When slavery was over, the leadership wanted to send African Americans back to Africa, and they did send some back to Liberia and other countries. But with the technology that they had then, they will be still shipping people now. So if you want to increase the political power for white Americans, the best way to do it is to bring rather than export. So instead of exporting ex-slaves, they imported white Europeans. So between 1869 and the 1960s, we had almost 70 million people coming from Western Europe and only 500,000 from Africa. So the African American population was reduced from almost 20% to 12-13%. That means African Americans were disenfranchised by at least 7 votes by a racist immigration policy favoring Western Europeans over people of color and also Eastern Europeans. So
I want to remind everyone now, to hear Mr. Figeroux talk to you, which is so articulate and so knowledgeable about the issues. He used to teach, I believe he used to be a professor at Brooklyn College.
Right, I taught as adjunct at different colleges, Brooklyn College, African Studies Department, taught a course Blacks in the Law. We used a book, Race and Racism by Derek Bell. He's now deceased. He was one of Obama's, I believe, mentors. He taught at Harvard and then he taught at NYU here in New York, and I believe when Obama, I believe, but when Obama was attended Harvard, Derek Bell was also a professor there. He stopped teaching at Harvard because they didn't want to hire their first black professor woman at that law school.
And so you can see that what you have is a gift that you have tonight. To have Mr. Figeroux here addressing the audience, the people who are watching, the viewers here. Now, Ms. Butler, and would you like to address the viewers in Spanish somewhat, because they may not know that you speak fluent Spanish?
¿Cómo estás hoy? Buenas tardes a toda mi gente. ¿Cómo se sienten? Ahora están escuchando muy bien al señor Georges y al Mr. Figeroux, de Figeroux y Asociado. Muchas tardes y bendiciones a todos.
So I know you have some events coming up. We got 1, 2, 3 pages. You can tell them about it in English and Spanish, and I will tell them in Haitian Creole.
Yes, well, good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Damarys Butler, President for the Hispanic American International Chamber of Commerce. I greet you this evening, and I'm here to invite you to a faith-based and nonprofit breakfast meeting. And the topic that we'll be having there that day, very important to churches and organizations, is how to start a soup kitchen and food pantry in your church or community. So please join us on Wednesday, November 19th, 2014 at 8:30 a.m. to 9. We will have registration and also a breakfast. And we'll also we'll have some remarks and introduction. We'll have a nice presentation for all, being given by Pastor, who himself have a soup kitchen, correct, Mr. Georges?
Pantry.
Right.
Yeah,
A food pantry, right?
That's great to know how to start your own food kitchen.
This is great. In the spirit of the holidays
Right.
of
It's excellent.
Thanksgiving,
Right.
this is a good timing. And you got the location there too.
Location is at a New American Chamber of Commerce conference room at 26 Court Street, Suite 701, and that's between Remsen and Montague.
And that's free, right?
Free on our breakfast.
Can you make it free breakfast, a free seminar, and you have to call to RSVP, right?
Right. Please call 718-722-9217. Once again, please call 718-722-9217, or you can also go in and register yourself if you like at info@mynac. Once again, that's info@mynacc.org.
That's where they can send the
Email.
Email.
and they can go to chambercoalition.org, www.chambercoalition.org, if you can register also online.
Right.
And you can take train number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or the R train to Bow Hall, right? And
Right.
to get there.
Right.
So we got
That's
some
8:30 in the morning,
That's
right?
8:30 in the morning. Come and get a breakfast, meet people, because also you have a chance to network at the end of the
Exactly.
At the end
At
of this
the
event,
end-
you'll get to do a one-on-one.
When does it
people
end?
here.
Around 12 noon, right?
About 12 noon, 11:30 to 12, we get a networking opportunity right there. And if you want to meet Mr. Figeroux, just see one of us. And Mr. Figeroux, would you meet with them?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. That's
But one more thing.
But I
to say.
don't know how to start a soup kitchen, so
But you will learn.
I'm gonna
You're
look
gonna
out
learn,
to
so you
this.
so you'll be
That's
attending, huh?
But
That's
you know
good.
something that's very important about these
Yeah.
days, even the food pantry,
Yeah.
because of the economic issues
right.
right now. There's a lot of people that are working, and they call them the working poor. They can't afford to eat
Yeah,
and
they
feed
say
their
there's
families.
an increasing number of people that.
So this is
That
very
can
important.
eat, right?
That's why the issue of increasing the minimum wage is so important.
Mhm.
You know that we need, as they say, a living wage, not a minimum
Minimum
wage.
wage. That makes sense.
Right. So churches and community,
Right.
it's important for them to get started and
If
learn
only
how to do this.
1% could give us a break, we'd be able to have a living wage, right?
There you go. And also, we must, in appreciation of our veterans.
Yep.
I myself was part-time Army,
Okay.
Yes. So I salute my fellow veterans, that are there and so dedicated.
Right.
And those are your best employees to have,
Really?
Very,
Veterans?
very dedicated.
You all can
You know,
listen. You
discipline.
can follow instructions.
Because we
That's
learn
true.
discipline. So once again, we're hosting a Thanksgiving breakfast and a business and procurement opportunities for us to come out and really check out. And that's Friday, November 21st, 2014.
So they could do both. They could come Wednesday for the breakfast,
Yes.
and that's how to learn how to start a soup kitchen, or come Friday when we honor our veterans,
Yes,
and
yes.
the
Okay.
issue is one procurement.
Procurement,
Okay.
yes. And
Good.
and
And the
how
breakfast
to,
free too, right?
breakfast is free and a hot breakfast.
I know we're eating two places. Free breakfast.
In 1 week, you
In
got
1 week, you get two breakfasts.
Oh.
Guess where? Guess where? At no other
at
than
the chambers.
At
the
the
chamber.
chamber. Okay. So we have a nice program for you. So come out. We have and also they'll be doing networking again,
Again, right.
and you get to learn
What time is this one?
networking.
So what are the veterans learning that day? How to
that day they're gonna. Before we
9
do
a.m. to
anything,
11.
they're gonna get the national anthem and welcome remarks.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
All
To
right.
say thank you
Okay.
to them.
And then they'll learn how to do
and then
business
they
with the
learn how to
city,
do
state,
business.
right.
You know, sell it to the government.
Selling to the
Selling to the government. And then guess what else? Procurement opportunities.
Yeah.
We don't know about that, do we?
So could I do a partnership with you and get some, use your, what you call it, your military status?
Come to the breakfast and let's talk
Oh.
about it.
You see, you could partner
That's
with
the way
a
to bring it to the
veteran.
There you
breakfast.
go, with a veteran. So please come out. Veterans, service, and family members are all welcome. But please RSVP. Telephone number again is 718-722-9217. Once again, 718-722-9217. Or once again, too, I must say,
Your
if you
email?
are a veteran, guess what we're giving out free that day?
What's that?
Really?
Membership.
Oh.
Oh,
Membership.
okay.
But you must come with an
I
ID.
thought you were going to say free computers.
Maybe.
There is a.
Oh, it's a surprise. You
Did you
must
bring
come.
something up? Yeah.
Yes.
I heard about 30 computers that we may give out to people.
Yeah, that's one of the veterans.
Okay. Who's
he's-
giving this out?
Right, he has secured some computers and he wants to give it out to fellow vets who might be starting a business because you need your computer.
Oh, you definitely need.
So we can't guarantee anyone who will get a computer there that day, but we know when you come to the events like this, there are
There's a chance
always
then.
special benefits for veterans,
Definitely.
and obviously the people who serve us in the armed forces, they're making a huge
Oh,
sacrifice.
yes.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Whether it be in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other countries, and we really need to show our love, our appreciation, welcome them home back well. You understand? And do whatever we can to help them not only get a job but a living wage,
Yes.
but also to start businesses.
Yes. We must encourage that.
Yeah.
We must
One
encourage
second. I know there are people who are trying to call us now. We may take 1 or 2 phone calls, no more than that. Let me take this call. Yes, you're in the air.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
I'm turning down the television right now.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I can hear you. You're in the air.
My name is Bruce Gill.
Welcome to the World on Democracy.
What's that?
Welcome. Go ahead and speak. I'm listening.
Okay. Well, let me tell you. I have been working as a white person since 1959 with one objective, and that is to have on my tombstone the words that he helped to make it possible for, in those days it was called Negro, today it would be called African American, in between it had many other names. But my objective was to have on my tombstone the words that he helped make it possible.
Lower the volume of your TV. It's making echo.
Are you how's this?
Okay, it's better now.
Okay. My objective was to make it possible for Negroes or African Americans to make it fully in the United States. And I did this by working with different groups all the way through from 1959 and starting in 1968, I became a member of the Madison Square Boys Club. Then it became Boys and Girls Club. And I started in 1971 to change the focus of the Boys Club from one where you wanted to keep juvenile delinquency down by offering a place for young boys to learn how to play basketball, swim, etc. And I turned it into a place where the basketball and the swimming pools was a bait to get young people to come in so that we could then teach them to learn how to study, learn how to read and write and speak proper English.
Thank you so much. We're running out of time, and maybe next show you'll be able to express yourself. We're going to take another phone call, and thanks for calling. Let's take another phone call. Yes, you're in the air. 212-757-1541. And I think you were you have something else coming up.
Yes.
The 22nd?
The 22nd of
Right.
November. Right. We have what we're calling Senior Saturdays, breakfast and educational seminars, where we're going to host various seminars for seniors 50 plus, where they can come out and they can be empowered. We have various seminars for them.
And that's
Saturday, November 22nd.
Time?
That's next week Saturday.
Next week Saturday at 8:30.
Right.
8:30, and same place, 26 Court
Right.
Street.
That's where the chamber meet. And so we have a seniors program where we want to help educate, empower, and they could obviously share knowledge with us. We could
Definitely.
get volunteers because part of the chamber coalition, we have our small business boot camp. We teach people how to start a business, how to write a business plan, how to market your business, how to fund your business, how to minority certify your business. Why are we teaching businesses how to get minority certification? Well, because the mayor, Mr. de Blasio, promised in his bid to be mayor that he is going to increase the contracts to minority businesses from a dismal 3-5% under Mayor Bloomberg to about 20-30%. Unfortunately, the comptroller, Mr. Stringer, gave him a D because he actually is doing less business with minorities now, Mayor de Blasio, than Mayor Bloomberg. But the whole idea of getting your business minority certified is that you will get contracts with the city. One of the big reasons that we have a high unemployment rate for black and Hispanics is because they're not starting businesses. People start a business, and when they start a business, they hire people who look like them, and who look like them, they are friends.
We got 30 seconds before they take us off the air, and time runs out so fast. And I want to thank you for watching the show. I will be at Holy Name Church on 96th Street in Amsterdam tomorrow to talk more about those events, those coming up. And got a few seconds, and I want to say thank you for coming. Ms. Butler, I would like you to come back again. And Mr. Figeroux, the same thing.
Yes.
And I'd like to see you again because 2 minutes we're out there. Thank you. Love you. See you in 2 weeks.
Get up, stand up for your right. You get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up.